She looked at his hand like it was garbage.
Completely unacceptable.
Marcus
But
Thompson
please,
stood in that
if we could
hotel
just have
lobby,
5 minutes
his
of your
hand
time.
extended, waiting. Carolyn Whitmore didn't just refuse to shake it. She stepped backward. She curled her lip. She looked him up and down like he was something stuck to the bottom of her designer shoe. "Security," she called out loud enough for everyone to hear. "Get this man out of here before I call the police." 50 people watched. Phones came out. Someone started recording. And Caroline Whitmore had no idea she had just destroyed the only person willing to save her dying company. What happened next will shock you. Before we continue, I want to invite you to subscribe to our channel and follow this story to the very end. Drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. Now let me tell you how Caroline Whitmore went from refusing a handshake to begging on her knees. The phone call came at 6 in the morning. Caroline Whitmore was already awake. She hadn't slept well in weeks. The numbers kept her up at night. The terrible, unforgiving numbers. "Caroline," David Chen's voice was strained. "We need to talk, now." "It's 6 a.m., David. I know what time it is. Get to the office. This can't wait." She found him in the conference room an hour later. He had dark circles under his eyes. His tie was crooked. David Chen never had a crooked tie. "How bad?" Caroline asked. David slid a folder across the table. "Open it." She opened it. The first page made her stomach drop. $8 million a month, David said. "That's what we're burning. And we have enough cash for 11 more weeks. 11 weeks? That's impossible." Henderson pulled out. Morrison walked away. "Tech Corp won't return our calls." Caroline threw the folder down. "Those weren't my fault." "Weren't they?" "Excuse me." David leaned forward. "You called Robert Henderson a fossil." To his face, in front of his entire board. He was being condescending. "You told Sarah Morrison her questions were insulting. They were basic questions. And you walked out on Tech Corp because their CEO asked you to explain your revenue model. He was wasting my time." David stood up. He walked to the window. When he turned around, his face was different, harder. "Caroline, I've been with you for 3 years. I believed in this company. I believed in you. But I've watched you burn every bridge in Silicon Valley." "I don't burn bridges. I have standards. You have enemies. 23 investors have said no in 8 months. Every single one mentioned the same thing in their feedback." "What thing?" David pulled out his phone. He read aloud. "Difficult to work with. Arrogant, dismissive, red flags about company culture, doesn't listen, treats people like they're beneath her." "Those are lies." "Are they?" Caroline's jaw tightened. "What do you want me to do?" David begged. "I want you to listen. For once in your life, I want you to actually listen." He sat back down. "There's one name left. One investor who hasn't rejected us yet." "Who?" "Marcus Thompson. Thompson Capital, New York." "Never heard of him." "He manages $3.8 billion. Caroline's eyebrows shot up. $3.8 billion? Why is he interested in us? Because he actually read our research. He thinks our technology could be worth $5 billion in 3 years. Then set up the meeting. It's already set. 3 weeks from now, 9 a.m., Four Seasons lobby. Fine. David didn't move. "There's something you need to know about him." "What?" "He doesn't wear suits. He dresses casually to every meeting. It's deliberate. He said in an interview that it's a test. He wants to see if people respect him for his ideas or judge him by his appearance." Caroline waved her hand. "I don't care what he wears. I care about his checkbook." "Caroline, I'm serious. This is different. He invests based on character. He's turned down deals worth hundreds of millions because he didn't like how the founders treated people." "Then he'll love me. I'm very likable." David stared at her. "Read his file, please. I'm begging you." "I'll get to it. Promise me." "I said I'll get to it." David walked to the door. He stopped with his hand on the handle. "This is our last chance, Caroline. Our very last chance. If you blow this meeting, we're done. The company is done. 3,000 people lose their jobs. I don't blow meetings, David. I close deals." He left without another word. Caroline turned back to her laptop. The file David had prepared sat on the corner of her desk. 50 pages of research on Marcus Thompson, his background, his investment philosophy, his track record. She didn't open it. She didn't have time for that. She had a company to run. 3 weeks later, she would realize that those 50 pages could have saved everything. Across the country, Marcus Thompson was having a very different morning. His phone rang at 7 a.m. He was already on his second cup of coffee. "Boss?" Maya's voice was sharp, professional. "I finished the Whitmore deep dive." "Tell me." "The technology is legitimate, revolutionary even. If they scale properly, we're looking at a $5 billion company within 3 years. What's the catch?" "The catch is Caroline Whitmore." Marcus set down his coffee. "Explain." "I talked to 6 former employees, all people of color. All told me the same story. Microaggressions, being passed over for promotions, feeling invisible in meetings. One woman said she was the only black engineer on her team for 2 years. At the company Christmas party, 3 different people asked if she was someone's guest. What else? Caroline has a reputation, and it's not good. I found emails, comments she made about candidates. Things like, not quite right for our culture, and doesn't project the right image. The pattern is clear, Marcus. She has a problem." James, the CFO, joined the call. "If we invest, we're looking at $500 million. That's massive exposure for a company with leadership issues." "Which is why I need to meet her myself," Marcus said. "Numbers can lie. People can't. Not face to face." "You're going to test her," Maya said. It wasn't a question. "I test everyone." "And if she fails?" Marcus looked out his window. Manhattan spread out below him. Towers of glass and steel built by people who started with nothing. "Then I'll know everything I need to know." "Boss?" Priya, his assistant, joined the call. "The meeting is confirmed. 3 weeks from now, 9 a.m., 4 Seasons in San Francisco. I sent her office your complete bio, Forbes profile, company overview, photo, everything." "Good. She knows exactly who she's meeting." Marcus nodded. "Then there won't be any confusion." But here's what Marcus didn't know. Caroline Whitmore never read the file. She never looked at his photo. She never even glanced at the confirmation email. She saw 9 a.m., investor meeting, on her calendar and assumed that was all she needed to know. That assumption was about to destroy her. Marcus learned a long time ago that clothes reveal character. He was 17 years old, standing in a Chicago courthouse. His best friend Darnell was on trial. The charge was robbery. Darnell was innocent. Marcus knew it. Everyone in their neighborhood knew it. But Darnell showed up to court in jeans and a hoodie. His public defender told him it didn't matter what he wore. The truth would speak for itself. The truth didn't speak at all. The jury looked at Darnell and saw what they expected to see. A young black man from the South Side, probably guilty, definitely dangerous. 10 years. They gave him 10 years. Marcus visited him in prison 3 months later. Darnell had aged a decade. His eyes were empty. "You know what the prosecutor said in his closing?" Darnell's voice was hollow. He said, "Look at him. Does he look like someone you can trust?" That's all it took, Marcus. They looked at me and made up their minds before I said a single word. Marcus never forgot that lesson. He got his scholarship to MIT the next year, full ride. His mother cried for an hour when the letter came. "You're going to change the world, baby," she kept saying. "You're going to show them who you are." But MIT taught him something else. First day of class. Big lecture hall. 200 students. Marcus found a seat near the front. He was eager, ready. This was his chance. The professor walked in, scanned the room. His eyes landed on Marcus. "Excuse me." The professor's voice carried across the hall. "I think you might be in the wrong classroom. The custodial staff meeting is in the basement." 200 heads turned to stare. Marcus felt his face burn. His hands shook, but he didn't move. "I'm a student," he said. "Marcus Thompson. I'm on your roster." The professor checked his list. His face changed color. "I apologize. Please take your seat." Marcus sat through that lecture. He didn't hear a single word. He was too busy thinking. This man had a PhD from Harvard. He taught at one of the best universities in the world. And his first instinct, when he saw a young black man sitting in his classroom, was to assume he didn't belong. If it happened here, Marcus realized it would happen everywhere. He was right. At his first job interview, the receptionist asked if he was there to fix the copier. At a restaurant in Boston, a hostess asked if he was applying for a kitchen position. At a tech conference in San Francisco, someone handed him their empty champagne glass and asked for a refill. Every single time, Marcus had to prove his humanity before he could prove his competence. So he turned his pain into a strategy. He started dressing down on purpose. Not because he couldn't afford suits. By then he could afford anything he wanted. But because he wanted to see who people really were. The polo shirt became his filter. The khakis became his test. The sneakers became his truth serum. If someone saw him in casual clothes and treated him with respect, they were worth his time. If someone saw him and assumed he didn't belong, they never would. In 3 weeks, he would walk into the Four Seasons lobby and find out exactly who Caroline Whitmore really was. The morning of the meeting arrived cold and bright. Marcus woke at 5. He couldn't sleep. Something felt wrong. He couldn't explain it, but his gut was telling him to pay attention. He put on his clothes. Navy polo, pressed khakis, white sneakers. The same outfit he wore to every first meeting. His mother's voice echoed in his head. She had passed away 2 years ago, but he still heard her every day. "You can't control what they see, baby, but you can control who you become." "I know, Mama," he whispered to the empty room. "I know." His car arrived at 8:30. Traffic was heavy. By the time he reached the Four Seasons, it was 9:05. He texted Priya. "Running 5 minutes late." "Already told them," she replied. "You're good." Marcus stepped out of the car. The San Francisco cold cut through his polo shirt. He walked toward the entrance leather portfolio under his arm. The lobby doors opened. And there she was. Caroline Whitmore stood near the windows laughing with 2 men in expensive suits, German accents. Her cream Chanel suit looked like it cost more than most people's monthly salary. Diamond earrings caught the light. Her blonde hair was pulled back so tight it looked painful. Marcus straightened his shoulders. He walked toward her. "Ms. Whitmore." He extended his hand. "Marcus Thompson. We have a 9 a.m. meeting about the Series C investment." Caroline turned. Her smile vanished. Marcus watched her eyes travel down his body. Polo shirt, khakis, sneakers, then back up to his face, to his skin. Her lip curled. "Can I help you?" The words came out cold, the tone you'd use on a stray dog. "Marcus Thompson." He repeated, hand still extended. "Thompson Capital. My assistant confirmed with your office 3 weeks ago." "Thompson Capital." She said it like she was tasting something rotten. "Never heard of it." One of the Germans shifted uncomfortably. "Caroline, perhaps?" "One moment." She held up a finger. Didn't even look at him. She took a step toward Marcus, close enough that he could smell her perfume. "I don't know how you got this address," she said, "but this is a private meeting, invitation only." "I was invited." "Really?" She laughed, a short, sharp sound. "Because what I see is someone who showed up to a business meeting dressed for a backyard barbecue." The Germans exchanged glances. "Ms. Whitmore, if you would just check with your assistant." "What I can check," she cut him off, "is that you don't belong here." She looked him up and down again, slower this time, making sure everyone watching could see. Someone like you doesn't just walk into a meeting with serious investors. Someone like you. The words hung in the air. A woman on a nearby couch looked up. A concierge stopped typing. The lobby had gone quiet. Marcus felt the familiar weight in his chest. The same weight from that MIT classroom. The same weight from 1,000 moments just like this one. Ms. Whitmore. His voice stayed calm. I flew in from New York for this meeting. If there's been confusion, we can sort it out. Just call your assistant. She has all the confirmation. My assistant. Caroline's voice rose. How do you know my assistant's name? Are you stalking me? The confirmation email. I don't care about any email. She turned toward the security desk. Excuse me, can someone help? This man is harassing me. 2 guards approached. One was older, black, with tired eyes. Name tag Jerome. The other was younger, white, military posture. Ma'am? The younger guard addressed Caroline. What's the problem? This man showed up uninvited. He's claiming to be some kind of investor. She laughed. Look at him. Does he look like someone who manages billions of dollars? The younger guard looked at Marcus, looked at his clothes, looked at his skin. Sir, do you have identification? I do. Marcus reached slowly for his portfolio. I have business cards, my Forbes profile. Anyone can fake business cards, Caroline interrupted. He probably printed them at Staples. Jerome stepped forward. His voice was quiet. Ma'am, maybe we should let him show. I didn't ask for your opinion. Caroline didn't even look at him. I asked you to remove him. Marcus saw Jerome's face, the recognition, the shared understanding, a lifetime of moments exactly like this one. Sir, the younger guard's hand moved to his radio. I'm going to have to ask you to leave. I understand. Marcus lowered his hand. He hadn't even gotten to show his ID. I'll leave. No escort needed. Oh, you'll be escorted. Caroline's voice carried across the lobby. I want to make sure you don't sneak into other meetings. Several people had stopped what they were doing. The woman on the couch had her phone out. Recording. Marcus looked at Caroline one last time. Ms. Whitmore, he said quietly. I hope you remember this moment. Oh, I'll remember it. She actually smiled. I'll remember it as the day some random con artist tried to scam his way into a meeting with me. She turned to the guards. Get him out. The walk to the door felt like a mile. Every eye in the lobby followed him. The marble floor echoed his footsteps. At the door, Jerome caught up. Sir, his voice was barely a whisper. I'm so sorry. 20 years I've worked here. I've never seen anything like that. It's not your fault. She didn't even let you show your ID. No. That's not right. Marcus pushed open the door. No, it's not. Outside, the cold hit him like a wall. He stood on the sidewalk, letting his heart slow down. His phone buzzed. Priya. Boss? What happened? Her assistant just called saying you left early. Change of plans. Cancel LA. Book me on the next flight to New York. But the 500 million. Priya. His voice was gentle but final. I got my answer. Inside the lobby, Caroline was already smiling at the Germans. I'm so sorry about that interruption. You wouldn't believe how many scammers try to crash these events. Klaus, the silver-haired German, didn't smile back. That seemed harsh, Caroline. You have to be firm with these people, otherwise they take advantage. He seemed like he genuinely believed he had a meeting. That's how con artists work. They're very convincing. She laughed. Can you imagine showing up dressed like that? It's insulting. Klaus was already standing. We need to go. Our flight. But we haven't finished. We finished last week, Caroline. We told you no. We only came by to be polite. They shook her hand and left. Caroline watched them go. Her smile faded for a moment. Then she pulled out her phone and texted Jennifer. "That investor, Thompson something. Delete his information. I don't want his type wasting our time again." She had no idea that his type was worth $3.8 billion. She had no idea he was the only person willing to save her company. And she had no idea that her entire world was about to collapse. 2 hours and 43 minutes later, Jennifer knocked on Caroline's door. Her face was white. Her hands were shaking. "Ms. Whitmore," her voice cracked. "We need to talk, right now." Caroline didn't look up. "I'm busy." "Please." Jennifer's voice broke. "Please look at this." Something in her tone made Caroline stop. She looked up. Jennifer's eyes were red, like she had been crying. "What's wrong with you?" Jennifer walked to the desk. She set down her tablet. Her hands trembled so badly the tablet rattled against the wood. "The man from this morning. The one you had removed. What about him?" "I looked him up." "Why would you waste—" "Ms. Whitmore." Jennifer's voice cut through. Sharp. Desperate. "Please. Look." Caroline picked up the tablet. The screen showed a Forbes article. The headline punched her in the chest. "Marcus Thompson, the billionaire investor you've never heard of." The photo showed the same face. The same calm eyes. The same man she had called a con artist. The same man she had refused to touch. The same man she had humiliated in front of 50 witnesses. Her eyes scanned the article. Net worth $3.8 billion. Thompson Capital, $3.8 billion. Under management Forbes, 400 ranking number 184 board member Apple. Microsoft, Tesla. Track record, 47 investments, 43 successful. Caroline's hands began to shake. "No," she whispered. "Ms. Whitmore. No. This is a different Marcus Thompson." Jennifer scrolled down. More photos. Marcus standing with the CEO of Google. Marcus shaking hands with Tim Cook. Marcus at Davos surrounded by the most powerful people on earth. In every photo he wore casual clothes. Polo shirts. Button-downs. Never a suit. Caroline couldn't breathe. "The meeting was confirmed 3 weeks ago," Jennifer whispered. "I have all the emails. He was coming to discuss Series C, $500 million. $500 million. The number echoed in Caroline's skull like a gunshot. Without that money, the company would die in 11 weeks. And she had just thrown out the only person willing to give it. "Oh, God." Caroline stood so fast her chair flew backward. "Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God." She grabbed her phone. Her fingers were sweating. She could barely type. She found the number she had deleted an hour ago. She called. Ring, ring, ring. Voicemail. "Mr. Thompson, this is Caroline Whitmore. There's been a terrible misunderstanding. Please call me back immediately." She hung up. Called again. Voicemail. Again. Voicemail. "Jennifer!" Her voice came out as a scream. "Get David now!" David arrived in 3 minutes. He took one look at Caroline's face. "What happened?" She shoved the tablet at him. David looked. His face went through every emotion in 10 seconds. Then it settled on something that looked like disgust. "You didn't." "I didn't know." "You had Marcus Thompson removed from the hotel." "I didn't know who he was." "His file was on your desk for 3 weeks." David's voice rose. "I begged you to read it. I didn't have time. You didn't have time." He threw the tablet on her desk. "You didn't have time to spend 15 minutes learning about the only person who could save this company." "I was busy." "Doing what?" "Looking down on people who don't dress the way you think they should. Judging people by their clothes, by their skin." Caroline's face went red. "That's not fair." Not fair. David actually laughed. 3,000 people are going to lose their jobs because you couldn't treat a human being with basic respect. That's not what happened. Isn't it? David pulled out his phone. Because there's a video, Caroline, from the hotel. It's already on Twitter. Want to see what you look like? He turned the phone toward her. The video showed everything. Caroline refusing to shake Marcus's hand. Caroline calling security. Caroline pointing at him like garbage. Her voice clear and unmistakable. Someone like you doesn't just walk into a meeting with serious investors. The comments were already in the thousands. She really did that to a billionaire. The racism jumped out. This woman's career is over. Someone like you, wow! Caroline's phone started ringing. Her PR director. She ignored it. It rang again. A board member. She ignored it. Again, again, again. How many people have called? David asked. Jennifer checked. 17 calls in the last hour. Bloomberg, TechCrunch, Wall Street Journal. 3 board members. And Marcus Thompson's phone goes straight to voicemail. Caroline tried calling him again. Nothing. Again. Nothing. He blocked me, she whispered. He blocked my number. David nodded slowly. Can you blame him? Caroline sank into her chair. Her legs wouldn't hold her anymore. What do I do, David? What do I do? I don't know. I honestly don't know. Her phone buzzed. Text from Richard Callahan, the board chairman. Emergency board meeting. Tonight, 8 p.m. Your presence is required. Caroline stared at the message. 11 weeks until bankruptcy. 23 investors had already said no. Marcus Thompson was the last hope, and she had destroyed it with her own 2 hands. David walked to the door. He stopped. You know what the worst part is, Caroline? She looked up. He was going to say yes. Before the meeting, I talked to his CFO. They were excited about our technology. They were ready to write the check. $500 million. All you had to do was shake his hand and treat him like a human being. He opened the door. But you couldn't even do that. He left. Caroline sat alone in her office. The sun was setting over the bay, orange and gold and beautiful. She had never felt so ugly in her life. Her phone rang again. She looked at the screen. Unknown number. She answered. Hello. Ms. Whitmore. The voice was cold, professional. This is James Morrison, CFO of Thompson Capital. Caroline's heart stopped. Yes, I'm here. Mr. Thompson asked me to deliver a message. Please, tell him I'm sorry. Tell him it was a mistake. Tell him I'll do anything. Ms. Whitmore? James cut her off. The message is simple. Mr. Thompson has made his decision. The investment is dead. Do not contact him again. The line went dead. Caroline stared at the phone in her hand. 3,000 employees. 11 weeks. No money. No hope. No second chance. She put her head on her desk and sobbed. Outside, the sun disappeared below the horizon. And somewhere over the Midwest, Marcus Thompson sat in first class, watching the clouds roll by beneath him. His phone was off. He didn't need to see what was happening online. He already knew. The flight attendant approached. Can I get you anything, sir? Marcus looked up. No, thank you. I'm fine. But he wasn't fine. He was thinking about Caroline Whitmore, about the curl of her lip, about the disgust in her voice, about the way she had looked at him like he wasn't even human. He had seen that look 1,000 times before. But this time was different. This time, there were 3,000 jobs on the line, 3,000 families, 3,000 people who had nothing to do with Caroline's prejudice. Did they deserve to lose everything because of her? His phone buzzed. A text from Maya. The video has 2 million views. Her stock is crashing. Board meeting scheduled for tonight. She's finished, boss. You destroyed her. Marcus read the message twice. Then he typed back. I didn't destroy her. She destroyed herself. He put the phone down and closed his eyes. But sleep wouldn't come. Because somewhere in the back of his mind a question kept nagging at him. A question he couldn't ignore. What if she could change? What if this was the moment that broke her open? What if losing everything was exactly what she needed to become someone new? He had seen it before. Rarely. But he had seen it. People who hit rock bottom and climbed back up. People who faced their ugliest truths and transformed. People who proved that change was possible. Was Caroline Whitmore one of those people? He didn't know. But he was about to find out. Because what Caroline didn't know, what no one knew, was that Marcus Thompson hadn't made his final decision yet. He had blocked her number. He had told James to deliver that message. He wanted her to feel the full weight of what she had done. But the door wasn't completely closed. Not yet. There was still one chance. One tiny, impossible chance. And it all depended on what Caroline Whitmore did next. The board meeting started at 8 p.m. sharp. Caroline walked into the conference room, feeling like she was walking to her own execution. 12 faces stared at her. None of them were friendly. Richard Callahan sat at the head of the table. His face was stone. "Sit down, Caroline." She sat. "I assume you know why we're here." "Richard, I can explain." "Can you?" He slid a tablet across the table. "Can you explain why you had a billionaire investor physically removed from a hotel? Can you explain why you refused to shake his hand? Can you explain why you called him a con artist in front of 50 witnesses?" "I didn't know who he was." "You didn't know." Richard's voice rose. "His file was on your desk for 3 weeks. His photo was in the confirmation email. Everyone in this industry knows Marcus Thompson doesn't wear suits. I didn't read the file." Silence. "You didn't read it," Richard repeated slowly. "You were meeting with our last potential investor, the only person willing to give us $500 million, and you didn't bother to read his file." "I was busy." "Busy." Richard laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "Do you know what the video looks like, Caroline? Do you know what people are saying about this company? About you?" He picked up his phone and read, "Whitmore Technologies' CEO is a racist. If this is how they treat investors, imagine how they treat employees. I'm selling all my stock first thing in the morning. Caroline Whitmore should be fired immediately." He set down the phone. "Our stock dropped 18% in 3 hours. We've lost $200 million in market value since that video went viral, and it's only been 6 hours." Caroline felt the room spinning. "What do you want me to do?" "We want you to fix it." "How?" Richard leaned forward. "You're going to fly to New York tomorrow. You're going to find Marcus Thompson, and you're going to convince him to give us that investment. He blocked my number. His CFO told me never to contact him again. Then show up at his office, camp out in his lobby, do whatever it takes. And if he won't see me," Richard's eyes were cold, "then you'd better start looking for a new job, because this board will not go down with a sinking ship. If you can't fix this, you're done." Caroline looked around the table. 12 faces. 12 people she had worked with for years. Not a single one of them would meet her eyes. "How long do I have?" 48 hours. Fix it, Caroline, or we'll find someone who can." The meeting was over. Caroline walked out of the building into the cold San Francisco night. Her car was waiting. Her driver opened the door. "Home, Ms. Whitmore." She shook her head. "Airport. Book me on the first flight to New York." "Tonight?" "Right now." The driver hesitated. "Ma'am, it's almost 10 p.m. The red eye doesn't leave until midnight." "Then I'll wait at the airport." She got in the car. As they drove through the empty streets, Caroline stared out the window at the city she had conquered, the city where she had built her empire, the city that was watching her fall. Her phone buzzed. Another notification. The video now had 5 million views. She closed her eyes. 48 hours to save everything. 48 hours to convince a man she had humiliated to give her a second chance. 48 hours to prove she was more than the worst moment of her life. She didn't know if it was possible, but she was about to find out. Because tomorrow morning, she would be standing in the lobby of Thompson Capital, and she would not leave until Marcus Thompson agreed to see her. Even if it took all day. Even if it took all week. Even if she had to beg on her knees. She would get that meeting. Or she would die trying. The red-eye landed at JFK at 6:47 in the morning. Caroline hadn't slept. Not a single minute. She spent the entire flight staring at her phone, watching the video play over and over, watching herself refuse to shake Marcus Thompson's hand. Watching herself point at him like garbage. Watching herself destroy everything. 12 million views now. 12 million people had watched her worst moment. She walked through the terminal like a ghost. Her Chanel suit was wrinkled. There was a coffee stain on her sleeve from turbulence somewhere over Nebraska. She hadn't brought a change of clothes. She hadn't brought anything except her phone and her pride. And her pride was already in pieces. Her phone buzzed. "David. Where are you?" "JFK. Just landed." The stock dropped another 7% overnight. "We've lost 300 million in market value total. The board is meeting again at noon." "I'll have the meeting by then." "Caroline, be realistic. He's not going to see you." "He'll see me." "How do you know?" She didn't answer. She didn't know. She only knew that she had no other choice. "Caroline." David's voice softened. "What are you going to say to him?" "I don't know yet." "You need to know. This isn't like your other meetings. You can't charm your way through this. You can't dominate your way through this. You actually have to mean it." "Mean what?" "The apology. It has to be real." Caroline was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know if I know how to do that, David." "Then learn. Fast. Because if you walk in there with your usual attitude, he'll see right through you. And then we're all done." She hung up. The taxi line was long. She waited. She never waited for anything. But today, she waited. 7:23 a.m. The cab dropped her off in front of Thompson Capital. 40 stories of glass and steel. The building looked like a monument to everything she had lost. She walked through the doors. The lobby was massive. White marble floors. Modern art on the walls. A reception desk that probably cost more than her first car. The receptionist looked up. Young. Professional. Name tag Lisa. "Good morning. Can I help you?" "I need to see Marcus Thompson." Lisa's fingers paused over her keyboard. "Do you have an appointment?" "No." "I'm sorry, ma'am. Mr. Thompson only sees people by appointment." "My name is Caroline Whitmore." Lisa's face changed. Recognition. Then something else. Something that looked like pity. "Ms. Whitmore, let me make a call." She picked up the phone, spoke quietly, glanced at Caroline twice. "I'm sorry, Mr. Thompson is not available." "I'll wait." "Ma'am, he could be in meetings all day." "I'll wait." "It could be hours." "I don't care." Lisa hesitated. Then she nodded slowly. "There are chairs by the window." 7:31 a.m. Caroline sat down. The chairs were expensive and uncomfortable. She sat anyway. An hour passed. Employees walked by. Some glanced at her. Some did double takes. She heard whispers. She saw phones come out. People were taking pictures of her. She was becoming a spectacle. 8:45 a.m. Lisa approached with a cup of coffee. "I thought you might want this." Caroline looked up. "Thank you." "Ms. Whitmore." Lisa hesitated. "Can I say something?" "What?" "I watched the video. Everyone here watched it." She paused. "Whatever you're planning to say to him, make sure you mean it. He knows when people are lying. He always knows." She walked away. 9:15 a.m. Caroline's phone buzzed. Jennifer. Ms. Whitmore Bloomberg is running a story. They're calling it the biggest PR disaster in tech history. I can't deal with that right now. There's more. 3 of your board members are giving interviews. They're distancing themselves from you. Who? Patterson, Reynolds, and Dr. Morrison. Morrison. Caroline had hired him personally. She had mentored him for 2 years. What are they saying? That you don't represent company values, that you acted alone, that they're considering leadership changes. They're throwing me under the bus. Ms. Whitmore, they're protecting themselves. Caroline hung up. 9:42 a.m. She had been sitting for over 2 hours. Her back ached. Her eyes burned from no sleep. Her stomach was empty. She didn't move. 10:17 a.m. A man in an expensive suit walked past her, stopped, turned around. You're Caroline Whitmore. She looked up. Yes. I'm Thomas Chen. I manage the Asian Markets Fund for Thompson Capital. Okay. I just wanted to tell you something. He leaned closer. I've worked for Marcus for 6 years. I've seen him turn down deals worth $500 million because he didn't like how someone treated a waiter. A waiter. What you did to him. He shook his head. You're wasting your time. He'll never see you. He walked away. Caroline stayed in her chair. 10:51 a.m. Her phone buzzed. Richard Callahan. Where are you? Still in the lobby. Has he agreed to see you? Not yet. Caroline, the board meeting is in an hour. I need something. Anything. I'll get the meeting. How you've been sitting there for 3 hours. I don't know how, but I'll get it. If you don't have something by noon, we're moving to a vote. Do you understand what that means? She understood. It meant they would fire her. Give me until 5 o'clock. Noon, Caroline. That's final. He hung up. 11:03 a.m. Caroline stood up for the first time in hours. Her legs were stiff. She walked to Lisa's desk. Please, I'm begging you. Just tell him I'm here. Tell him I flew all night to see him. Tell him I'll wait as long as it takes. Lisa looked at her. Really looked at her. Something in her expression shifted. Wait here. She picked up the phone. This time the conversation was longer, more urgent. She hung up. Mr. Thompson's assistant will be down in 5 minutes. Caroline's heart jumped. Thank you. Thank you. 11:09 a.m. The elevator opened. A woman stepped out. Indian, professional, sharp eyes that missed nothing. Ms. Whitmore, I'm Priya Patel, Mr. Thompson's assistant. Thank you for seeing me. Priya didn't smile. I'm not seeing you. I'm delivering a message. Caroline's hope flickered. What message? Mr. Thompson appreciates your persistence. He acknowledges that you flew through the night to be here. He's aware that you've been waiting for almost 4 hours. And he wants you to know that he watched the video 17 times. He's read every comment. He's seen every article. He knows exactly what the world thinks of you right now. Caroline swallowed. Will he see me? Priya was quiet for a long moment. Mr. Thompson has a philosophy. He believes that people reveal their true character in moments of crisis. Not when things are easy, when things are hard. I understand. Do you? Because right now you're in crisis. Your company is dying. Your reputation is destroyed. Your board is about to fire you. And you're sitting in this lobby waiting for a man you humiliated to save you. Yes. Why should he? The question hung in the air. Caroline had prepared a speech. She had practiced it on the plane. All the right words, all the right apologies, all the polished corporate language she had used her entire career. But looking at Priya's face, she knew none of it would work. So she told the truth. He shouldn't. Priya's eyebrow rose. Excuse me? He shouldn't save me. I don't deserve it. I treated him like garbage. I saw a black man in casual clothes, and I decided he didn't belong. I didn't see a person. I saw a stereotype, and I treated him accordingly." Her voice cracked. "I've been sitting here for 4 hours asking myself why I did it. And the answer is ugly. The answer is that I've done it my whole life. I've looked at people and judged them in seconds. By their clothes, by their accents, by their skin. I've dismissed people before they opened their mouths. And I never once thought I was wrong." Tears were forming in her eyes. She didn't wipe them. "Mr. Thompson doesn't owe me anything. I know that. But 3,000 people work for my company. 3,000 families depend on those jobs. They didn't refuse to shake his hand. They didn't call security on him. They didn't humiliate him in front of 50 people. I did." She took a breath. "If Mr. Thompson can find it in himself to consider the investment, I'll do whatever he asks. Any conditions, any requirements, anything. But if he says no, I'll understand. Because he would be right." Priya stared at her. The lobby was silent. Several employees had stopped to watch. Lisa was standing behind her desk, frozen. Priya pulled out her phone. She typed something quickly. Waited. Her phone buzzed. She read the message. Her face revealed nothing. "Conference room B, 4th floor. You have 15 minutes. Caroline's knees almost buckled. "Thank you. Thank you. Don't thank me yet." Priya turned toward the elevator. "You haven't met him yet." 11:23 a.m. The elevator ride felt like an eternity. 4th floor. Long hallway. Conference room B at the end. Priya opened the door. "Ms. Whitmore is here." She stepped aside. Caroline walked in. The room was small. No windows. Just a table and 6 chairs. Marcus Thompson sat at the far end. Gray button-down shirt, jeans. The same calm expression she remembered from the hotel lobby. The same eyes that had watched her call him a con artist. He didn't stand when she entered. "Sit down, Ms. Whitmore." She sat. Her hands were shaking. She clasped them together under the table. "Thank you for seeing me." "I almost didn't." His voice was quiet, controlled. "I had decided not to. I told my team to send you away." "What changed your mind?" "Priya sent me a video. From the lobby. Just now." He paused. "You were crying." Caroline's face flushed. "I didn't realize anyone was recording." "There's always someone recording. You should know that by now." She deserved that. "Mr. Thompson, I want to apologize." He held up one hand. "Stop." She stopped. "Before you apologize, I need you to understand something. You keep saying you didn't know who I was, like that's the problem. I know that's not the problem. Do you?" "Yes." Her voice was barely a whisper. "The problem is what I saw when I looked at you." Marcus leaned forward. "And what did you see?" Caroline's throat tightened. "I saw a black man in casual clothes, and I decided instantly that you didn't belong. I didn't see your credentials. I didn't see your experience. I didn't even see a human being who deserved basic courtesy. I saw what I expected to see. And what was that? Someone beneath me." The words hung in the air. Ugly. True. Marcus was silent for a long moment. "If I had been white," he said slowly, "would you have done what you did?" "No." "If I had been wearing a suit, would you have done what you did?" "No." "So what you did was about race and class, about who you thought I was based on how I looked." "Yes." "That's not a misunderstanding, Ms. Whitmore. That's bias. That's prejudice. That's exactly the kind of thinking that has cost people like me opportunities our entire lives." "I know." "Do you?" "Because I've been in that hotel lobby 1,000 times. Not literally, but metaphorically. Every time someone assumes I'm the help. Every time someone asks me to get them coffee at a conference. Every time someone sees my face before they see my achievements. Every single time I have to prove my humanity before I can prove my competence. I'm sorry. Sorry isn't enough. Caroline's heart sank. I understand. No, you don't understand. Not yet. Marcus pulled out a folder. I've been watching your company for 8 months. I've studied your technology. I've analyzed your financials. I've talked to your employees. I know what Whitmore Technologies could become. Then why? Because none of that matters if the leadership is rotten. The word hit her like a slap. The technology doesn't discriminate, Marcus continued. The numbers don't discriminate, but people do. And when the person at the top has the kind of biases you demonstrated yesterday, it poisons everything. I can change. Can you? Because I've heard that before. I've heard it from CEOs who got caught, from executives who went viral, from powerful people who only apologized because they were forced to. They all said they could change. Most of them didn't. I'm not most of them. Prove it. Silence. How? Marcus slid the folder across the table. Open it. Caroline opened it. Inside was a single piece of paper with a list. She read it. Her face went pale. These are my conditions, Marcus said. Non-negotiable, all or nothing. If you agree to every single one, I'll invest the $500 million. If you refuse even one, I walk out of this room and I never speak to you again. Caroline read the list again. 1. Public apology admitting racial bias. Not a PR statement. A real admission written by her delivered in her own words at a press conference within 48 hours. 2. Independent cultural audit of Whitmore Technologies. Full access to all employees, all emails, all HR records. Results to be made public. 3. Board diversity requirement. 40% people of color within 12 months. No exceptions. 4. Personal donation of $5 million from her own funds to organizations supporting Black entrepreneurs. 5. 6 months of intensive bias coaching with a consultant of Marcus's choosing. Weekly sessions. Mandatory. 6. Quarterly progress reports submitted to Thompson Capital. Any backsliding results in immediate withdrawal of investment. 7. Resignation as CEO within 30 days. She could stay on as board chair non-executive, but someone else would run the company. Caroline stared at the last item. You want me to give up my company? No. I want you to give up control of your company. There's a difference. I built this company from nothing, and you almost destroyed it in one morning. This is my life's work. Then save it. Accept the conditions. You're asking me to humiliate myself in public. I'm asking you to take responsibility, publicly, the same way you humiliated me publicly. Caroline's hands were shaking so hard the paper rattled. If I do all of this, if I agree to everything, how do I know the investment is real? Because I keep my word, unlike some people. Another hit she deserved. Can I have time to think about it? You have 3 minutes. 3 minutes. My flight back to New York leaves in 2 hours. I wasn't planning to be here at all today. I came in specifically because you were sitting in my lobby. So yes, 3 minutes. Caroline looked at the paper. Public humiliation, giving up control, admitting everything, her entire identity, her entire sense of self, everything she had spent 40 years building, gone. But if she said no? 3,000 jobs, 3,000 families, 11 weeks until bankruptcy. She thought about what David had said on the phone. The apology has to be real. She thought about what Priya had said in the lobby. He knows when people are lying. He always knows. She thought about the look on Marcus's face when she refused to shake his hand. The quiet dignity, the complete lack of surprise, like he had experienced that moment 1,000 times before. Because he had. And suddenly Caroline understood something she had never understood before. This wasn't about her. It had never been about her. It was about every person who had ever been judged before they spoke. Every person who had been dismissed before they could prove themselves. Every person who had walked into a room and felt invisible. She had been one of the people making them invisible for 40 years, and she had never even noticed. I agree. Marcus's expression didn't change. To everything. To everything. Including the resignation. Including the resignation. You understand this is binding. The moment you walk out of this room, my lawyers will draft the agreement. If you back out of any condition, I don't just withdraw the investment. I go public. I tell every media outlet exactly what happened and exactly why I walked away. I understand. And you still agree? Caroline looked him in the eyes. For the first time since the hotel lobby, she really looked at him. Mr. Thompson, I spent 4 hours in your lobby today. I've had a lot of time to think. And here's what I realized. She took a breath. I'm 52 years old. I've spent my entire career climbing, building, conquering. I told myself I was successful because I was smart, because I worked hard, because I was better than everyone else. Her voice cracked. But the truth is, I had advantages I never acknowledged. I never had to prove I belonged. I never had to overcome assumptions about my competence based on how I looked. I walked into rooms and people took me seriously automatically. I didn't earn that. I was just born into it. Marcus was watching her closely. When you walked into that hotel lobby, I didn't see you. I saw everything I had been taught to look down on. And I acted on it without thinking. Because that's what privilege does. It makes cruelty feel natural. She wiped her eyes. So yes, I agree to your conditions, all of them. Not because I have no choice. I do have a choice. I could walk away right now. Let the company fail. Blame you. Play the victim. A lot of people would believe me. But you won't do that. No, because for the first time in my life, I want to actually earn something. I want to prove that I can be better. Not because I got caught. Because I should have been better all along. The room was silent. Marcus looked at her for a long moment. Then he stood up. 48 hours. Press conference. My team will be there. He walked toward the door. Mr. Thompson? He stopped. Will you be there at the press conference? He turned back to face her. No. This isn't my moment. It's yours. He paused. But I'll be watching. And Ms. Whitmore? Yes. Don't make me regret this. He walked out. Caroline sat alone in the conference room. Her hands were still shaking. But for the first time in 24 hours, she could breathe. 11:58 a.m. She pulled out her phone. Called Richard Callahan. Caroline. The board meeting starts in 2 minutes. Tell me you have something. I have it. He agreed to see you. He agreed to invest. Silence on the other end. What? 500 million. He's in. How? What did you have to do? Caroline looked at the list in her hand. I'll tell you when I get back. Cancel the vote. And Richard? What? Call a press conference. 48 hours from now. I have something I need to say. She hung up. The elevator doors opened. Priya was waiting. Congratulations, Ms. Whitmore. You got your meeting. Thank you for your help. I didn't help you. Mr. Thompson makes his own decisions. She paused. But I will say this. What? I've worked for him for 7 years. I've seen him take meetings with hundreds of people, founders, CEOs, billionaires. Most of them think they're special. Most of them think their money or their status makes them worthy of his time. And me. You're the first person who ever told him you didn't deserve it. Priya walked her to the lobby. Safe travels, Ms. Whitmore. The hard part is just beginning. 12:07 p.m. Caroline walked out of Thompson Capital into the Manhattan sunshine. Her phone was exploding. Texts, calls, emails. She ignored them all. She had 48 hours to prepare for the most difficult moment of her life. 48 hours to admit to the world who she really was. 48 hours to start becoming someone different. She hailed a cab. "Where to?" the driver asked. "JFK." As the cab pulled away from the curb, Caroline looked back at the building. 40 stories of glass and steel. Inside, somewhere on the upper floors, Marcus Thompson was going back to his regular day. She had gotten her second chance. Now she had to earn it. The cab merged into traffic. 3,000 employees. 3,000 families. One press conference. One chance to make it right. The clock was ticking. The flight back to San Francisco felt longer than the flight to New York. Caroline sat in the first class, staring at the blank document on her laptop. The cursor blinked, waiting, judging. She had to write her own apology. Marcus had been clear about that. No PR team, no lawyers, no polished corporate language. Her words, her truth. The cursor kept blinking. 2:47 p.m. Pacific time. 43 hours until the press conference. She typed the first sentence. "I want to apologize for my behavior." She deleted it. Too weak. She typed again. "What I did was wrong." Deleted. Too generic. She typed, "I am not a racist." She stared at those words. Her fingers hovered over the delete key. Was it true? 24 hours ago she would have said yes without hesitation. Of course she wasn't racist. She had black friends. She had donated to civil rights organizations. She had voted for Obama twice. But then she remembered the look on Marcus Thompson's face when she refused to shake his hand. She remembered the curl of her own lip. She remembered the words that came out of her mouth without thinking. "Someone like you." She deleted the sentence. Because maybe it wasn't true. Maybe she had been lying to herself for 52 years. 3:15 p.m. Her phone rang. "David." "Where are you?" "Flying back. I'll land in 2 hours." "The board is going crazy." Richard told them about the investment, but not the conditions. They want details. "They'll get details at the press conference." "Caroline, they're board members. They have a right to know before the public does." "No. No. If I tell them beforehand, they'll try to negotiate. They'll water it down. They'll turn my apology into a legal document full of hedging and qualifiers. I'm not doing that. You're going to blindside your own board. I'm going to tell the truth. If they can't handle that, they can resign." Silence on the other end. "Caroline, who are you right now? Because this doesn't sound like you." "Maybe that's the point." She hung up. 4:51 p.m. The plane landed. Caroline walked through the terminal. People recognized her. She saw the looks, the whispers, the phones coming out. 20 million views now. The whole country had watched her worst moment. She kept walking. 5:32 p.m. She arrived at her house. It felt strange, empty, like she was a stranger in her own life. She sat down at her kitchen table, opened her laptop, started writing again. This time she didn't delete anything. She wrote about growing up in Pacific Heights, about never worrying about money, about assuming that everyone who worked hard could achieve what she achieved. She wrote about the first time she realized that wasn't true. A college roommate who worked 3 jobs and still couldn't afford textbooks. Caroline had assumed she was just bad with money. She wrote about her first job, how she noticed that the people who got promoted looked like her, talked like her, came from families like hers. She never questioned it. She assumed they were just better. She wrote about the hotel lobby, every detail. What she thought when she saw Marcus. What she felt. What she said. She wrote the truth. It took her 4 hours. When she finished, her face was wet with tears. 10:14 p.m. She read the speech out loud. Her voice cracked 3 times. Good. If she couldn't get through it without crying, that meant it was real. She saved the document. Closed her laptop. 31 hours until the press conference. She didn't sleep that night either. The next morning, her phone started ringing at 6 a.m. Jennifer. The press conference is confirmed. 3 o'clock today. Whitmore Technologies headquarters. We have requests from 47 media outlets. Accept all of them. All of them, even the ones that have been attacking you. Especially those. 7:22 a.m. Richard Callahan called. I need to see your speech before the press conference. No. Caroline, I'm the board chairman. I have a responsibility to the shareholders. And I have a responsibility to tell the truth. Those things might not be the same. What does that mean? It means you'll find out at 3 o'clock with everyone else. If you say something that damages the company, the board will have no choice but to remove you. I'm already removing myself. It's one of Marcus Thompson's conditions. Silence. You agreed to resign. I agreed to step down as CEO. I'll stay on as board chair, non-executive. That's everything you worked for. No, that's everything I thought I worked for. Turns out there's a difference. She hung up. 8:45 a.m. David came to her house. He looked like he hadn't slept either. Let me read the speech. No. Carolyn, please. I've been with you for 3 years. I deserve to know what you're going to say. She looked at him. Really looked at him. David Chen. Asian American. Brilliant. She had passed him over for CEO twice because he was too quiet in board meetings. That wasn't the real reason. David, can I ask you something? What? How many times have I made you feel like you didn't belong? He froze. What? Be honest. I can take it. David sat down slowly. He was quiet for a long moment. Once you told me my accent was distracting in client meetings. You suggested I take speech lessons. Caroline's stomach dropped. I don't remember that. I do. What else? You assigned me to the Asian Markets Division automatically. You never asked if that's where I wanted to be. You just assumed. I thought I was playing to your strengths. My strengths are in strategic planning, you know that. But you saw an Asian man and decided I should handle Asia. Caroline put her head in her hands. I'm sorry, David. I know. No, I mean, I'm really sorry. I did it without thinking. I did it because that's how I've always thought, and I never once considered how it made you feel. David was quiet. That's why you need to resign as CEO, he finally said. I know. Not as punishment, because you're right. You don't see it. You've never seen it. And if you stay in charge, you'll keep hurting people without even realizing it. Will you take over as CEO? David stared at her. You're asking me. Marcus's conditions say I have to step down. They don't say who replaces me. I want it to be you. Why? Because you're better than me. You've always been better than me. I just couldn't see it because I was too busy seeing everything else. 11:17 a.m. The news was already breaking. Someone had leaked that Caroline was giving a press conference. The speculation was wild. Some people thought she was going to resign. Others thought she was going to fight back. Others thought she was going to announce a lawsuit against Marcus Thompson. None of them were right. 12:03 p.m. Caroline's PR director Amanda called for the 5th time. I need to see the speech. No. Caroline, this is my job. I need to prepare talking points. I need to manage the message. I need to... Amanda, listen to me. There is no message to manage. There are no talking points. I'm going to stand up there and tell the truth. The whole truth. And whatever happens after that happens. That's insane. Maybe, but it's also the only way this works. What if you say something that opens us up to lawsuits? Then we get sued. What if the stock crashes? Then it crashes. What if the board fires you before you can even finish speaking? Then at least I'll know I tried. Amanda was silent for a long time. You've really changed, haven't you? I'm trying to. I hope it's enough. Caroline hung up. She hoped so too. 1:30 p.m., 90 minutes until the press conference. Caroline stood in front of her mirror. She was wearing a simple black dress, no jewelry, no designer labels, just her. She looked tired, older, human, good. Her phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. "I'll be watching. Don't disappoint me. MT. Marcus Thompson." She typed back, "I won't." 2:15 p.m. 45 minutes. Caroline arrived at headquarters. The lobby was chaos. Reporters everywhere. Camera crews setting up. Security trying to maintain order. Jennifer met her at the door. "The auditorium is packed. Standing room only. Every major network is here. Bloomberg, CNBC, CNN, Fox Business. This is going to be the biggest corporate press conference of the year." "Good. Are you sure you're ready for this?" Caroline looked at her assistant. Jennifer had been with her for 7 years, had watched her build this company, had seen her at her best and her worst. "Jennifer, can I ask you something?" "Of course. Have I ever made you feel like you didn't belong?" Jennifer's face changed. Something flickered in her eyes. Then it was gone. "Let's focus on the press conference, Ms. Whitmore." "Please, I need to know." Jennifer was quiet. Then she spoke. "Last year you had me take notes in a meeting instead of participate. I had prepared a presentation. I was supposed to present it. But when the clients walked in and saw me, you looked at me and said, 'Jennifer, why don't you handle the notes today?' The clients were all white, all male, and I was the only woman of color in the room." Caroline remembered that meeting. She had told herself she was protecting Jennifer, that the clients were old-fashioned, that it was better for everyone if she stayed quiet. She hadn't asked Jennifer what she wanted. "I'm sorry." Jennifer nodded slowly. "I know. But sorry doesn't change how it felt." "You're right. It doesn't." 2:47 p.m. 13 minutes. The auditorium was a sea of faces. Reporters, cameras, lights. The entire world waiting to see what Caroline Whitmore would say. Richard Callahan grabbed her arm in the hallway. "Last chance. Let me read the speech." "No." "Caroline, whatever you're about to do, you can't undo it." "I know. You could destroy everything we've built. Or I could save it." "How?" "By telling the truth. Something I should have done a long time ago." She pulled her arm free and walked toward the stage. 2:58 p.m. 2 minutes. Caroline stood behind the curtain. She could hear the crowd, the murmurs, the anticipation. Her hands were shaking. Her heart was pounding. But for the first time in days, she wasn't afraid. She was ready. 3:01 p.m. The lights hit her as she walked to the podium. 40 cameras pointed at her face. Hundreds of eyes watched her every move. Millions more would watch later. She gripped the edges of the podium. The wood was cool under her palms. Deep breath. 3 days ago, I committed an act of racial profiling. The room went silent. No one had expected her to start like that. I refused to shake hands with Marcus Thompson, a black man who had flown from New York to meet with me. I looked at his clothes. I looked at his skin. And I decided in that moment that he didn't belong. She paused. Let the words sink in. I called security on him. I had him removed from the hotel. I humiliated him in front of 50 people. And I did it because I saw a black man in casual clothes and assumed he was a con artist. A reporter in the front row raised his hand. Caroline shook her head. Please let me finish. There will be time for questions. She looked down at her notes. Then she pushed them aside. I could tell you I didn't know who he was. That's true. I didn't read his file. I didn't look at his photo. I didn't bother to learn anything about the man I was meeting because I assumed I already knew everything I needed to know. Her voice cracked. But that's not an excuse. It's an indictment. Because when I saw Marcus Thompson walk toward me, I didn't see a billionaire. I didn't see a successful investor. I didn't see a human being. I saw a stereotype, and I treated him accordingly. She wiped her eyes. I've been asking myself why. Why did I react that way? And the answer is ugly. The answer is that I've been doing it my whole life, looking at people and judging them in seconds, deciding who belongs and who doesn't based on how they look, how they dress, how they speak. She took a breath. I grew up wealthy. I grew up white. I grew up with every advantage this country has to offer. And I never once questioned why people who looked like me seemed to succeed more often than people who didn't. I told myself it was merit, hard work, talent. She shook her head. It wasn't. It was a system that was built to favor people like me, and I benefited from that system while pretending it didn't exist. The room was completely silent. What I did to Marcus Thompson wasn't an accident. It wasn't a mistake. It was the logical result of 52 years of unconscious bias. 52 years of looking at people and seeing categories instead of human beings. 52 years of believing I was better than I actually was. She looked directly into the cameras. To Marcus Thompson, I want to say this: I am sorry. Not because I got caught. Not because it went viral. Not because I needed your money. I am sorry, because you deserved better. Every person deserves to be treated with dignity. And I failed that basic test of humanity. She paused. I know that words aren't enough. So I want to announce the following commitments. She pulled out the list Marcus had given her. First, Whitmore Technologies will undergo an independent cultural audit. Full access to all employees, all emails, all records. The results will be made public. Murmurs in the crowd. Second, our board will be 40% people of color within 12 months. No exceptions. Louder murmurs. Third, I am personally donating $5 million to organizations supporting Black entrepreneurs. Someone gasped. Fourth, I will undergo 6 months of intensive bias coaching. Weekly sessions. Mandatory. She took a deep breath. And fifth, this was the hardest part. I am resigning as CEO of Whitmore Technologies effective in 30 days. The room exploded. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras flashed. People stood up. Complete chaos. Caroline held up her hand. Please, let me finish. Slowly the room quieted. I built this company from nothing. I poured my life into it. It was my identity, my purpose, my everything. Her voice broke. But I realize now that I was never as good as I thought I was. I was just lucky enough to look the part. And when someone came along who didn't look the part, I couldn't see past my own prejudice. She wiped her eyes. Whitmore Technologies deserves better leadership. Our 3,000 employees deserve a CEO who sees them for who they are, not what they look like. And our partners deserve to know that this company's values are more than just words on a website. She looked at David Chen, who was standing in the front row. His eyes were wet. I have recommended to the board that Dr. David Chen be appointed as my successor. He is brilliant, he is capable, and he is the person I should have promoted years ago if I hadn't been too blind to see it. David nodded slowly. Caroline turned back to the cameras. I don't know if I can change. I don't know if 52 years of bias can be undone, but I'm going to try, not because I have to, because I should have tried a long time ago. She stepped back from the podium. I'll take questions now. The first hand shot up. A reporter from CNN. Ms. Whitmore, do you consider yourself a racist? Caroline didn't hesitate. I considered myself not racist for 52 years, and then I watched myself on that video. I watched myself treat another human being like garbage because of how he looked. So I have to be honest. I don't know what I am, but I know what I did, and what I did was racist. Gasps from the crowd. Another hand. Bloomberg. Is Marcus Thompson investing in the company? Yes, $500 million. These conditions were his requirements. So you're only doing this because he forced you to... Caroline paused. He gave me the list, but I chose to accept it. I could have said no, I could have let the company fail. I could have blamed him. Instead, I chose to take responsibility. That choice was mine. Another hand. Wall Street Journal. Do you think this apology will save your reputation? I don't care about my reputation. I care about the 3,000 people who work for this company. I care about the families who depend on those jobs. And I care about doing the right thing, even if it's 40 years too late. Another hand. A young black reporter from a local station. Ms. Whitmore, what would you say to people of color who have experienced what Marcus Thompson experienced, who have been judged and dismissed before they could even speak? Caroline felt tears forming again. I would say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I was part of the problem. I'm sorry that people like me made your lives harder without even realizing it. And I'm sorry that it took this moment for me to finally understand what you've been dealing with your whole lives. She wiped her eyes. I can't change the past, but I can try to change the future. And I hope that my failure can be a lesson. If someone like me, someone who thought she was enlightened and progressive and fair, could do what I did, then maybe it's time for all of us to look in the mirror. The press conference lasted another 45 minutes. Caroline answered every question. She didn't hedge. She didn't deflect. She told the truth. By the time it was over, she was exhausted, emptied out. But she felt something she hadn't felt in days. Peace. 4:52 p.m. The cameras were still rolling when she walked off stage. Reporters shouted more questions. She didn't stop. David was waiting in the hallway. That was incredible. It was the truth. The stock is moving, up, not down. People are responding to this. I don't care about the stock. I know. That's why the stock is going up. Caroline almost laughed. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You didn't disappoint. We'll talk soon. MT. She stared at the message. Then she typed back 2 words. Thank you. 5:15 p.m. Richard Callahan found her in the hallway. That was either the bravest thing I've ever seen or the stupidest. Maybe both. The board is in shock. Half of them want to give you a medal. The other half want to sue you. They can do whatever they want. I said what I needed to say. Richard looked at her for a long moment. You really meant it, didn't you? Every word. Every word. I've known you for 15 years, Caroline. I've seen you in board meetings, in negotiations, in crises. I've never seen you like this. Like what? Vulnerable, human. Caroline nodded slowly. Maybe that's who I should have been all along. 6:33 p.m. The news broke everywhere. Every network was covering the press conference. Every website was running the story. Social media was exploding. Some people praised her, said it was the most honest corporate apology they had ever seen, said she was setting a new standard for accountability. Others attacked her, said she was only sorry because she got caught, said she should go to jail, said no apology could make up for what she did. Caroline read all of it. Every comment, every tweet, every article. She deserved all of it. 7:48 p.m. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello, Ms. Whitmore. The voice was familiar. Marcus Thompson. Her heart stopped. Mr. Thompson? I watched the press conference. And you did something I didn't expect. What's that? You told the truth. The real truth. Not the version your lawyers would have approved. Not the version your PR team would have written. The ugly, uncomfortable truth. It's what you asked for. I asked for an admission. You gave a confession. There's a difference. Caroline was quiet. I had to, she finally said. I had to say it out loud, all of it. Because if I didn't, I would have spent the rest of my life pretending I wasn't the person I saw in that video. Marcus was silent for a long moment. My mother used to tell me something. he said. She said, "You can't control what people see when they look at you, but you can control who you become." She sounds like a wise woman. She was. She passed away 2 years ago. I'm sorry. She would have liked that speech. She would have said that was the sound of someone finally waking up. Caroline felt tears coming again. I don't know if I'm awake yet. I don't know if 52 years of being asleep can be undone in one day. It can't. That's the point. This isn't a moment, Ms. Whitmore. It's a beginning. The question is whether you'll keep walking forward or fall back into old patterns the moment no one is watching. I'm going to try. I know. That's why I called. To check on me. To tell you that the investment documents will be ready tomorrow. 500 million. The money will transfer as soon as you sign. Thank you. Don't thank me. Prove me right. The line went dead. Caroline stood alone in her empty house. The phone calls had stopped. The texts had stopped. The world had moved on to the next story. But she was still here, still alive, still trying. 9:17 p.m. She walked to her bedroom. For the first time in 3 days, she thought she might actually sleep. But first, she had one more thing to do. She opened her laptop, started a new document. She began to write. Not a speech, not an apology, a letter. To her parents who had raised her with privilege and prejudice in equal measure. To her teachers who had never challenged her assumptions. To her colleagues who had looked the other way when she made comments that should have been called out. To David and Jennifer and everyone she had hurt without knowing it. To Marcus Thompson, who had shown her grace she didn't deserve. And to herself. The woman she used to be. The woman she was becoming. The woman she hoped to be someday. She wrote until her eyes couldn't stay open. Then she closed the laptop and lay down. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. The bias coaching, the board meetings, the audit, the transition. The long, slow process of trying to become someone better. It would take months, years, maybe the rest of her life. But for the first time, Caroline Whitmore wasn't running away from who she was. She was running toward who she could become, and that made all the difference. The first week after the press conference was hell. Caroline woke up on Monday morning to find 37 reporters camped outside her house. They shouted questions as she tried to get to her car. They followed her to headquarters. They waited outside every meeting. Ms. Whitmore, do you regret your statement? Ms. Whitmore, are you really a racist? Ms. Whitmore, should you go to prison? She didn't answer any of them. 8:22 a.m., day 1. The independent auditors arrived at 9 a.m. sharp, 3 of them, all strangers, all with full access to everything. Caroline met them in the lobby. Ms. Whitmore. The lead auditor was a black woman named Dr. Patricia Williams, 50s, sharp eyes, no-nonsense demeanor. We'll need access to all employee records, all emails, all HR files, all performance reviews, everything. You'll have it. We'll also need to interview employees, privately, without management present. Of course. Some of them may say things about you that are difficult to hear. Caroline nodded slowly. I'm counting on it. Dr. Williams looked at her for a long moment. Most executives fight us every step of the way. They hide files. They coach employees. They try to control the narrative. I'm not most executives. No, I'm starting to see that. 10:44 a.m. The first interview requests went out. Voluntary, anonymous, confidential. Within 2 hours, 300 employees had signed up. 300 people who wanted to tell their stories. Caroline sat in her office watching the number climb. Each name was someone she had worked with, someone she had led, someone she might have hurt without even knowing. Her phone buzzed. David, the audit team wants to interview you too. When? Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., 3 hours minimum. I'll be there. Caroline, they're going to ask about specific incidents, specific employees, specific decisions you made. Good. You might want to prepare. Get a lawyer present. No lawyers. Why not? Because lawyers tell you what to say. I need to say what's true. 12:17 p.m. The bias coaching started. Dr. Angela Morrison was Marcus Thompson's choice, African American, Stanford PhD in organizational psychology, 20 years of experience working with executives who had been caught. She didn't waste time on pleasantries. Ms. Whitmore, I want to be clear about something. I'm not here to make you feel better. I'm not here to give you a certificate that says you're cured. I'm here to help you see things you've been blind to your entire life. I understand. Do you? Because most people in your position think they can check a box, do 6 months of coaching, say the right things, and go back to who they were. I'm not trying to go back. Then let's start with something simple. Dr. Morrison leaned forward. Tell me about the first black person you ever looked down on. Caroline's throat tightened. I don't know if I can remember a specific... Yes, you can. Everyone can. It's the moment the bias takes root. The first time you learned consciously or unconsciously that some people were worth less than others. Caroline closed her eyes. The memory came flooding back. I was 7 years old. We had a housekeeper. Her name was Rosetta. She was black. She cleaned our house 3 times a week. Go on. One day I asked my mother why Rosetta didn't live in a house like ours. My mother said... Carolyn's voice cracked. She said some people are meant to clean houses and some people are meant to live in them. And what did you learn from that? That we were different. Better. That our house was ours and Rosetta was just someone who existed to make our lives easier. Did you ever see Rosetta as a full human being, with her own dreams, her own family, her own struggles? Caroline felt tears forming. No, I never even asked about her life. In 12 years of her working for us, I never once asked about her family. Dr. Morrison nodded slowly. That's where it starts. That's where it always starts. Not with hatred, with indifference, with the assumption that some people simply matter less. 2:38 p.m. The first lawsuit hit. 3 former employees, all black, all claiming discrimination. Caroline's lawyers called immediately. We need to fight this. If we settle, it's an admission of guilt. Then settle. What? Settle the lawsuit. Whatever they're asking, give it to them. Ms. Whitmore, that could be millions of dollars. I don't care. If they were hurt, they deserve compensation. Fighting them in court just proves I haven't learned anything. Silence on the line. You're serious. Dead serious. Settle it, and make sure they know it's not about keeping them quiet. It's about acknowledging what was done to them. 3:47 p.m. Richard Callahan called. The board is in emergency session. Some members are demanding your removal from the non-executive chair position. Who? Patterson, Reynolds, Morrison. The same 3 who had distanced themselves after the video. Let them vote. Caroline, if they remove you, you'll have no role in the company at all. Everything you built was built on foundations I'm not proud of. If the board decides I shouldn't even be chair, then that's their decision. You're not going to fight. I'm done fighting to protect my position. I'm only fighting to change who I am. The vote came back at 5:15 p.m. 7-5. Caroline stayed. But 5 board members had voted to remove her entirely. 5 people who had smiled at her for years, who had told her she was brilliant, who had praised her leadership. Now they wanted her gone. She couldn't blame them. Day 3, 8:45 a.m. The audit interview. Dr. Williams and her team sat across from Caroline in the conference room. Recording devices on the table, notebooks open. Ms. Whitmore, we've reviewed 3 years of hiring data. We found some patterns we'd like to discuss. I'm listening. In the last 3 years, your company hired 847 employees, only 12% were black, in an industry and region where the qualified black candidate pool is approximately 28%. I wasn't aware of those numbers. Most executives aren't. That's part of the problem. Dr. Williams flipped through her notes. We also found that black employees were promoted at significantly lower rates than white employees with identical qualifications, 37% lower. Caroline felt sick. Can you explain why that might be? I don't know. I approved most of those promotion decisions, but I never thought... You never thought about race when making those decisions? No. I thought I was being objective, neutral. I thought I was judging people on merit. Ms. Whitmore, that's exactly the problem. You thought you were being neutral. But neutrality doesn't exist in a system that was built to favor certain people over others. When you don't actively work against bias, you perpetuate it. 10:17 a.m. The interview continued. Dr. Williams pulled out a stack of printed emails. We found several emails from you regarding hiring and promotion decisions. I'd like to read some of them. Caroline's stomach dropped. Go ahead. This one is from 18 months ago, regarding a black candidate named James Washington. You wrote, quote, "His credentials are solid, but I'm not sure he fits our culture. Let's keep looking." End quote. I don't remember writing that. Do you remember James Washington? No. He was a Stanford MBA with 8 years of experience. He was more qualified than the white candidate you eventually hired. Caroline stared at the email. Her own words, her own signature. What did you mean by "doesn't fit our culture"? I don't know. I must have thought. You thought he wouldn't fit in, because the people who fit in at your company looked a certain way, talked a certain way, came from certain backgrounds. Yes, the word came out as a whisper. Dr. Williams pulled out another email. This one is from 2 years ago, regarding a black employee named Tamara Williams, no relation to me. She was up for promotion to senior vice president. You wrote, quote, "Tamara is talented, but I'm not sure she projects the right executive presence. Let's wait another year." End quote. I remember Tamara. Do you remember what happened to her? She left the company. She left 6 months later. She's now senior vice president at your biggest competitor. She told our team that your feedback made her feel like she would never be seen as leadership material here, no matter how hard she worked. Caroline put her head in her hands. How many people did I push out? How many careers did I derail? We've identified at least 23 cases where black employees left after being passed over for promotions they deserved. 23 careers. 23 lives. 11:42 a.m. The interview ended. Caroline sat alone in the conference room for 30 minutes. She didn't move. She didn't speak. She just stared at the stack of her own emails. The evidence of her own blindness. The documentation of harm she had caused without even knowing it. Her phone buzzed. Text from Marcus Thompson. I heard about the audit. Keep going. The truth is supposed to hurt. She typed back. It hurts more than I expected. Good. That means it's working. Day 7, 2:15 p.m. The audit results were released, publicly, as promised. Caroline read the summary with shaking hands. Systemic underrepresentation of black employees at all levels. Promotion disparity of 37%. Compensation gap of 12%. 23 HR complaints dismissed without proper investigation. A culture that prioritized fit over fairness. And at the center of it all, one name kept appearing. Caroline Whitmore. The report was devastating, comprehensive, undeniable, and exactly what she deserved. 3:48 p.m. The press had a field day. Whitmore audit reveals years of systemic discrimination. Former CEO Caroline Whitmore oversaw culture of bias. Independent report confirms it wasn't just one incident. Caroline read every article, every comment, every attack. She didn't defend herself. She couldn't. 4:32 p.m. David called. The stock dropped 8% when the audit went public. Some analysts are questioning whether the company can survive this. Will we survive? Honestly, I don't know. The Thompson investment is keeping us afloat, but if we lose too many clients, if the talent exodus continues, what can I do? Nothing. This is the consequence. You can't fix it. You can only let it happen and hope we come out the other side. Day 12, 9:05 a.m. Second bias coaching session. Dr. Morrison didn't waste time. Tell me about someone you discriminated against, someone specific, someone who stayed with the company. Caroline thought for a long moment. Jennifer, my assistant. What happened? Last year I had her take notes in a meeting instead of presenting. She had prepared a presentation. It was supposed to be her moment. But when the clients walked in, all white, all male, I looked at her and decided she should stay quiet. Why? I told myself I was protecting her, that the clients were old-fashioned, that it would be easier for everyone if she just took notes. But that's not the real reason, is it? Caroline felt tears forming. No, the real reason is that I didn't think she would be taken seriously. Because she's a woman of color. Because she didn't look like the people in that room. Because I had already decided she didn't belong at that table. And how do you think that made her feel? Invisible, worthless, like she would never be seen as an equal no matter how hard she worked. Have you apologized to her? Not properly, not the way she deserves. Then that's your assignment for next week. A real apology, not corporate, personal. Day 14, 6:18 p.m. Caroline knocked on Jennifer's door. Ms. Whitmore, is everything okay? Can we talk? They sat in Jennifer's living room. Small apartment, modest furniture, photos of family on the walls. Caroline had never been here before. In 7 years, she had never once visited her assistant's home. Jennifer, I need to apologize to you, for real this time. You already apologized at the press conference. That was public. This is personal. Caroline took a breath. That meeting last year, when I had you take notes instead of presenting, I took something from you that day. I took your chance to shine. I took your voice. I took your dignity. Jennifer's eyes filled with tears. I told myself I was protecting you. But the truth is, I looked at you and decided you didn't belong at that table. Not because of your qualifications, because of how you looked. And that's unforgivable. Jennifer wiped her eyes. Do you know what the worst part was? What? I had practiced that presentation for 2 weeks. I stayed late every night. I memorized every slide. And then you looked at me with those clients, and I knew in that moment that nothing I did would ever be enough. I'm sorry. I almost quit that day. Why didn't you? Because I needed the job. Because I had student loans. Because my mother was sick and I needed the health insurance. Jennifer's voice hardened. Do you understand what that's like, to be trapped in a place where you're invisible, to need something so badly that you'll accept being treated like less than human? Caroline shook her head. No, I've never experienced anything like that. That's the difference between us. You've never had to. You've always had choices. You've always had options. You've always been able to walk away. I know. So what now? What do you want from me? Nothing. I don't want anything. I just want you to know that I see it now. What I did to you. What I've done to so many people. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to make it right. Jennifer was quiet for a long time. I want to believe you. But you don't. I've heard a lot of apologies in my life, Ms. Whitmore, from teachers, from bosses, from people who said they wanted to change. Most of them didn't. I know, and I can't promise I'll be different. I can only promise I'll try. Day 21. 3:33 p.m. The transition was official. David Chen became CEO of Whitmore Technologies. The announcement came with a press conference. David stood at the podium, confident, capable, the leader the company needed. Caroline sat in the front row, not on the stage, not at the microphone, just an audience member. It felt strange, wrong, like watching someone else live her life, but it also felt right. "I want to thank Caroline Whitmore for her years of leadership," David said. "And I want to acknowledge that this transition is happening under difficult circumstances. We have a lot of work to do, a lot of trust to rebuild, but I believe we can do it." A reporter raised her hand. "Dr. Chen, do you think Caroline Whitmore should have any role in this company going forward?" David paused. "I think Caroline Whitmore did something most executives never do. She told the truth. She admitted her failures publicly, and she stepped aside so the company could heal. That took courage. And yes, I think there's a role for her here. Not as a leader, but as someone who's learning, someone who's growing, someone who's trying to be better." Caroline felt tears on her face. She hadn't expected him to defend her. Day 28, 10:47 a.m. The first major client dropped them. Morrison Partners, $40 million annual contract. Gone. "We can't be associated with a company that treated people this way," their CEO said publicly. "Our values don't align." The irony wasn't lost on Caroline. Morrison Partners had been implicated in their own discrimination scandal 2 years ago. They had settled quietly, moved on, never faced consequences. But now they were using her failure to make themselves look good. 11:32 a.m. Richard called. "We've lost 3 more clients since the audit went public. Total revenue impact is $80 million. Say, can we survive?" "With Thompson's investment, yes, barely. But if this continues..." "It won't continue forever. The story will fade. New scandals will take its place. And if it doesn't, then we face the consequences, together." Day 35, 4:51 p.m. Another bias coaching session. Dr. Morrison asked a question Caroline wasn't prepared for. "Tell me about your parents." "What about them?" "How did they talk about race? What did they teach you?" Caroline thought back. "They didn't talk about it, ever. Race wasn't a topic in our house. But you learned things anyway, from what they did, from what they didn't do, from how they treated people. My father had a saying. He said, 'The cream rises to the top.' He believed that success came to people who deserved it, that the system was fair, that anyone who didn't succeed just hadn't worked hard enough." "And your mother?" "She was more subtle. She never said anything explicitly racist, but she would clutch her purse when black men walked by. She would cross the street. She would lock the car doors." "Did you ever ask her why?" "Once. I was about 10. I asked her why she always locked the doors in certain neighborhoods. She said, 'It's just safer, sweetheart.' And I believed her." Those small moments, those silent lessons, that's how bias gets transmitted. Not through speeches or manifestos. Through 1,000 tiny messages that say certain people are dangerous. Certain people don't belong. Certain people are less than. I know that now. Knowing isn't enough. You have to unlearn it. Every single day. For the rest of your life. Day 42. 8:14 a.m. Something unexpected happened. Caroline received an email from a woman named Tamara Williams. The same Tamara from the audit. The one she had passed over for promotion. The one who had left for a competitor. The subject line was simple. "I watched your press conference." Caroline opened it with trembling hands. "Ms. Whitmore, I debated whether to write this. Part of me wanted you to suffer in silence. Part of me wanted revenge. But I watched your press conference and I saw something I didn't expect. I saw someone who actually understood what they did. That doesn't excuse it. That doesn't make up for the years I spent doubting myself. But it's more than I've ever gotten from anyone else. I don't forgive you. I'm not sure I ever will. But I respect that you tried. Tamara." Caroline read it 3 times. Then she wrote back. "Tamara, thank you for writing. I don't deserve your respect. I deserve your anger. What I did to you was wrong. Not just passing you over, but making you feel like you weren't good enough, like you didn't belong. You were always good enough. You were always better than I was willing to see. I'm sorry it took losing everything for me to finally see it. Caroline. Day 49, 2:38 p.m. The tide started to turn. A business magazine ran a profile piece. Caroline Whitmore, the most honest apology in corporate history. It quoted employees, former critics, even Dr. Williams from the audit. Most executives fight accountability, Dr. Williams said. Caroline Whitmore embraced it. That doesn't erase what she did, but it sets a new standard for how leaders should respond when they fail. The stock started recovering. Slowly, but it was moving in the right direction. Day 56, 11:03 a.m. Marcus Thompson called. I've been watching your progress. And you're actually doing the work. Most people in your position would have checked out by now, gone through the motions, waited for it to blow over. I'm not most people. No, you're not. He paused. The quarterly report is due next week. The board wants to know if Thompson Capital is satisfied with the progress. Are you? I'll let you know after I see the numbers. But Caroline. Yes. Whatever happens with the investment, whatever happens with the company, what you're doing matters. Not because it's good business, because it's right. Day 63, 4:15 p.m. The first quarterly report under the new leadership. Revenue down 12%, but stabilizing. Employee satisfaction up 34%. Diverse hiring up 67%. Promotion disparity cut in half. Caroline read the numbers in her small office. Not the corner office anymore. A small space on the 4th floor. No view, no status, just a desk, a computer, and the work. David knocked on her door. The numbers are in. I saw. Thompson Capital is satisfied. They're maintaining the full investment. Caroline exhaled. Good. There's something else. What? The employees. They took a survey this week about the culture, about the changes, about you. And David handed her a piece of paper. 68% said they believe Caroline Whitmore has genuinely changed. 54% said they would be willing to work with her directly again someday. Caroline stared at the numbers. That's higher than I expected. People are watching you, Caroline. They see you coming to work every day. They see you attending the bias training. They see you sitting in meetings listening instead of talking. They see you trying. Is it enough? I don't know, but it's a start. Day 70, 9:28 p.m. Caroline sat alone in her apartment. The coaching was working. The audit had changed policies. The company was surviving. But something still felt wrong. She picked up her phone, dialed a number she hadn't called in years. Hello? Rosetta, this is Caroline Whitmore, from Pacific Heights, from years ago. Silence. Caroline, little Caroline. I'm not so little anymore. She took a breath. I know this is strange. It's been 30 years. But I needed to call you. Why? Because I never treated you like a person. In 12 years, I never once asked about your life, your family, your dreams. You were in our house 3 times a week, and I never saw you as anything more than someone who cleaned up after us. Silence on the other end. Rosetta, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for 12 years of treating you like you were invisible. I'm sorry for everything my family did without ever acknowledging what it must have felt like for you. Rosetta was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke. You know what I remember most about you, Caroline? You were 8 years old. I was mopping the floor. You walked right through it without even looking. Left footprints all across my work. Then you asked me to do it again. Caroline felt tears streaming down her face. I remember your mother laughing. She said, Rosetta doesn't mind, do you, Rosetta? And I said no. Because I needed that job. Because I had 3 children at home. Because I couldn't afford to mind. I'm sorry. I know you are. I've been watching the news. I saw what happened. I saw your press conference. Do you believe me? That I've changed? Rosetta was quiet. I believe you're trying, and that's more than most people ever do. Caroline wiped her eyes. Thank you for answering the phone. Thank you for calling. After all these years, thank you for seeing me. The line went dead. Caroline sat in the darkness. 70 days of work, 70 days of coaching, 70 days of facing every ugly truth about herself. And it was just the beginning. But for the first time since that morning in the hotel lobby, Caroline Whitmore felt like she might actually become someone worth being. Not the woman who refused to shake a hand. Not the CEO who couldn't see past her own privilege. But someone new. Someone still learning. Someone still trying. Someone who finally understood that change wasn't a destination. It was a journey, and she was just taking her first steps. The calendar on Caroline's desk showed March 15th, 1 year to the day since she refused to shake Marcus Thompson's hand. 1 year since she destroyed everything she thought she was. 1 year since she started becoming someone new. Her phone buzzed at 7:32 a.m. Text from Jennifer. The Four Seasons confirmed. Annual Investor Summit starts at 9 a.m. Your attendance is requested. Caroline stared at the message. The Four Seasons. The same hotel, the same lobby, the place where she had lost everything. And now they were asking her to go back. 8:05 a.m. David called. Did you get the message about the summit? I got it. You don't have to come. No one expects you to. I know. But I need to go. I need to face it. Silence on the other end. Are you sure? No. But that's exactly why I have to do it. 8:47 a.m. Caroline stood in front of her mirror. She looked different than she had a year ago. Older, more tired, but also, somehow, more alive. The sharp edges had softened. The permanent tension in her jaw had relaxed. She wasn't wearing Chanel today. Just a simple black dress. No diamond earrings. No power suit. Just her. She took a deep breath and walked out the door. 9:03 a.m. The car pulled up to the Four Seasons. Caroline's heart was pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. The last time she was here, she had pointed at a man like he was garbage. The last time she was here, she had destroyed her life with 3 words. Someone like you. She got out of the car. The lobby doors opened. And suddenly she was back in that moment. The crystal chandeliers, the marble floors, the smell of expensive flowers and furniture polish. Everything was the same. Except her. 9:08 a.m. The lobby was packed with investors, executives, journalists. 200 people in business attire. Some recognized her. She saw the looks, the whispers, the phones coming out. She kept walking. Jennifer met her near the entrance. Ms. Whitmore, are you okay? You look pale. I'm fine. David saved you a seat in the back, away from the cameras. No. No. I'm not hiding in the back. I'm going to sit in the front row. Jennifer stared at her. Are you sure? I'm done hiding from what I did. If people want to stare at me, let them stare. If they want to judge me, let them judge. I deserve it. 9:17 a.m. Caroline took her seat in the front row. The murmurs intensified. She felt 100 eyes on her back. David took the stage. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Whitmore Technologies Annual Investor Summit. He clicked to the first slide. 1 year ago, this company was in crisis. Our reputation was destroyed. Our stock had crashed. We were days away from bankruptcy. He paused. Today I'm proud to report that Whitmore Technologies has not only survived, we have thrived. He clicked to the next slide. Revenue up 127%. Employee satisfaction at an all-time high. Diverse representation at executive level 43%. Promotion disparity eliminated. The room applauded. These numbers didn't happen by accident, David continued. They happened because we made a choice. We chose to face our failures honestly. We chose to change our culture. We chose to be better. He looked directly at Caroline. And that choice started with one person. Someone who had the courage to stand up in front of the world and admit her mistakes. Someone who gave up everything she had built so that this company could have a chance to rebuild. Caroline felt tears forming. I want to ask Caroline Whitmore to stand up. She stood slowly. Her legs felt weak. 1 year ago, Caroline did something most leaders never do. She told the truth. She took responsibility, and she stepped aside so that healing could begin. The room was silent. That takes more courage than building a company. That takes more strength than any deal I've ever closed. And I want everyone here to acknowledge what that means. Slowly, one person started clapping. Then another. Then another. The applause built, grew, became a standing ovation. 200 people on their feet. For her. Caroline stood frozen. She didn't know what to do. She didn't deserve this. But then she saw Jennifer in the crowd, tears streaming down her face, clapping harder than anyone. She saw Dr. Williams, the auditor, nodding with what looked like respect. She saw employees she had hurt, people she had failed, standing and applauding. Not because she was forgiven, but because she had tried. 9:42 a.m. The summit continued with presentations and panels. Caroline listened but didn't speak. She wasn't here to be the center of attention. She was here to witness what the company had become without her. And it had become something better. 10:15 a.m. A familiar figure walked into the lobby. Caroline's breath caught. Marcus Thompson. He was wearing a charcoal polo shirt and pressed khakis. The same casual style that had started everything. The same clothes she had judged him for 1 year ago. He walked through the crowd. People moved aside. They knew who he was. Everyone knew who he was now. He stopped in front of Caroline. Ms. Whitmore? Mr. Thompson? They stood facing each other. The lobby had gone quiet. Everyone was watching. Marcus extended his hand. It's good to see you. Caroline looked at his outstretched hand. 1 year ago, she had refused to take it. 1 year ago, that refusal had changed both their lives. She reached out and shook it firmly. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. I know this wasn't easy. Nothing worth doing is easy. Marcus smiled slightly. No, it's not. 10:28 a.m. They walked together toward the conference room. People parted around them. The whispers continued, but they were different now. Not judging. Curious. I've been following your progress, Marcus said. The quarterly reports, the audit updates, the coaching sessions. I know, you've been watching. I had to make sure my investment was sound. And is it? He looked at her. The investment in the company, yes. Better than I expected. And the investment in me. Marcus was quiet for a moment. The jury's still out on that one. But I'm more optimistic than I was a year ago. 10:44 a.m. The main panel discussion began. Topic: Accountability and Leadership Lessons from the Whitmore Case. The moderator was a journalist from Bloomberg. 3 panelists, David Chen, Dr. Patricia Williams, and Marcus Thompson. They asked Caroline to join them on stage. I'm not sure that's appropriate, she said. It's entirely appropriate, Marcus replied. You're the only one here who actually lived through it. We need your voice. Caroline hesitated. Then she nodded. She took her seat on the stage. The moderator turned to her first. Ms. Whitmore, 1 year ago, you stood at this hotel and made a choice that destroyed your career. Looking back, do you regret it? Caroline leaned forward. Which choice? The choice to refuse a handshake, or the choice to tell the truth afterward? The first one. I regret it every single day. I regret the harm I caused. I regret the person I was. I regret that it took public humiliation for me to see what I had been doing my entire life. And the second choice, the truth, no. I don't regret that. It was the only right thing I did in that entire situation. The moderator turned to Marcus. Mr. Thompson, when you walked into this hotel a year ago, what did you expect? Marcus leaned back in his chair. I expected a business meeting. I expected to discuss investment terms. I expected to be treated like a professional. And instead, I was treated like a criminal. I was humiliated in front of 50 people. I was escorted out by security. Were you surprised? No. His voice was flat. That's the worst part. I wasn't surprised at all. Because I've been treated that way my entire life. By professors, by colleagues, by random strangers who see my skin color before they see anything else. The room was silent. What surprised me, Marcus continued, was what happened after. I've been in situations like that before. Usually the person apologizes through lawyers. They issue a statement. They wait for it to blow over. They never actually change. He looked at Caroline. She did something different. She stood up in front of the world and admitted what she had done. Not the sanitized version, the real version, the ugly truth. Did that change your mind about investing? It made me willing to listen. The conditions I set were designed to test whether she was serious. Most people would have walked away. She didn't. And now, a year later, Marcus paused. Now I think she might actually be different. Not perfect, not cured, but genuinely trying to change. And that's rare. That's worth something. 11:23 a.m. The panel continued. Dr. Williams spoke about the audit, the systemic patterns they had found, the changes that had been implemented. What we discovered at Whitmore Technologies exists in almost every company, she said. The difference is that Whitmore chose to address it publicly. Most companies bury these findings. They settle lawsuits quietly. They protect reputations at the expense of justice. Do you think Caroline Whitmore deserves redemption? The moderator asked. Dr. Williams considered the question carefully. I don't believe in redemption as a destination. I believe in accountability as a practice. What Ms. Whitmore did in that lobby was inexcusable. What she did afterward was admirable. Both things can be true. She looked at Caroline. The question isn't whether she deserves redemption. The question is whether she'll keep doing the work when no one is watching. When the cameras are gone. When the world has moved on to the next scandal. Caroline spoke up. I can't promise I'll always get it right. I can't promise I'll never hurt someone again without meaning to. I'm 53 years old. I spent 52 of those years learning the wrong lessons. Her voice cracked. But I can promise I'll keep trying, every day, for the rest of my life. Not because I have to, because I should have started a long time ago. 12:07 p.m. The panel ended. The audience applauded. Respectful. Thoughtful. Caroline stepped off the stage. Her hands were shaking. Jennifer approached her. That was incredible, Ms. Whitmore. I don't know if incredible is the right word. It's the first time I've seen you be completely honest in public. No performance, no positioning, just the truth. Is that a compliment? It's an observation. And yes, it's a compliment. 12:34 p.m. Lunch break. Caroline was about to leave when Marcus Thompson caught up with her. Walk with me. They walked through the lobby together. Past the spot where it had all started. Past the security desk where Jerome still worked. Jerome looked up as they passed. His eyes met Caroline's. She stopped. Jerome, Ms. Whitmore. I never apologized to you, for that day, for putting you in that position. Jerome was quiet for a moment. You didn't put me in any position, ma'am. I was just doing my job. No. I made you escort a man out of this building because of the color of his skin. I made you part of something ugly, and I'm sorry. Jerome's eyes softened. I've worked here 23 years. I've seen a lot of people come through these doors. Powerful people, rich people, people who treat security guards like furniture. I was one of them. Yes, ma'am, you were. He paused. But I've also been watching the news this past year. I saw what you said. I saw what you did. Most people don't come back and apologize to the security guard. Most people should. Jerome nodded slowly. Yes, ma'am, they should. He extended his hand. Caroline shook it. Thank you, she said. Thank you for seeing me. 1:03 p.m. Caroline and Marcus sat in a quiet corner of the hotel restaurant. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Marcus said something unexpected. I want to tell you about my mother. Your mother. She died 2 years before we met. Cancer. By the end, she was so weak, she couldn't get out of bed. Caroline listened. The hospital staff treated her differently because she was a black woman from the South Side. Some of the nurses were dismissive. Some of the doctors were condescending. She was dying, and they still couldn't see past her skin color. I'm sorry. I sat with her in that hospital room for 3 months. I watched her fight for dignity while fighting for her life. And I made a promise to her. What promise? I promised that I would never let anyone make me feel like I didn't belong. I promised that I would build something so big, so undeniable that they would have no choice but to see me. And you did. I did. $3.8 billion. Board seats at Apple and Microsoft and Tesla. Every marker of success this society values. He paused. And then I walked into this lobby and none of it mattered. You looked at me and saw exactly what those nurses saw when they looked at my mother. Someone who didn't belong. Caroline felt tears forming. I'm sorry. I know you are, but I want you to understand something. He leaned forward. When I invested in your company, it wasn't forgiveness. I don't know if I'll ever truly forgive you. That moment in the lobby will stay with me forever. Then why did you invest? Because my mother taught me something else. She said that the best revenge isn't success. It's transformation. It's taking the worst of what someone throws at you and using it to make something better. I don't understand. Your failure became my opportunity. Your public humiliation created a moment that forced an entire industry to look at itself. Because of what happened between us, 12 major companies announced diversity audits. Because of your press conference, 3 other CEOs came forward with their own admissions. Because you fell, others started trying to change before they fell too. Caroline stared at him. I didn't know that. You were too busy doing the work to notice. But I noticed. The ripple effects of what you did are still spreading. 1:47 p.m. They returned to the summit. The afternoon sessions focused on the future. New products, new partnerships, new directions. Caroline sat in the audience and listened. She wasn't part of these plans anymore. She wasn't the decision maker. She was just a witness. And somehow, that was okay. 3:18 p.m. The final panel of the day. Topic: The Future of Whitmore Technologies. David was the main speaker. 5 years from now, I want this company to be the gold standard for inclusive leadership. I want every company in America to look at what we've built and ask themselves why they're not doing the same. A reporter raised her hand. Dr. Chen, what role will Caroline Whitmore play in that future? David looked at Caroline in the audience. That's up to her. The non-executive board chair position is hers as long as she wants it, but I hope she'll do more than that. What do you mean? Caroline made a mistake that destroyed her career, but she also showed the world what accountability looks like. I think she has a responsibility to share that lesson, to teach other leaders what she learned, to help them see their blind spots before those blind spots destroy them. He paused. I'm formally inviting Caroline Whitmore to lead a new initiative at this company, the Whitmore Institute for Inclusive Leadership. She'll work with executives across the industry to help them recognize and address their own biases. Not after they get caught. Before. The room murmured. Caroline, will you accept? Every head turned to look at her. Caroline stood slowly. Her voice was barely above a whisper. I don't know if I'm qualified to teach anyone anything about leadership. I made the worst mistake any leader can make. I let my biases hurt people who trusted me. That's exactly why you're qualified, David replied. You know what failure looks like. You know what it costs. And you know what it takes to come back from it. Caroline was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. I accept. Not because I deserve it, but because maybe my failure can help someone else avoid theirs. 4:02 p.m. The summit ended. Caroline stood near the exit, shaking hands with investors and employees and journalists who wanted to talk. Every conversation was different. Some were supportive. Some were skeptical. Some were openly hostile. She faced them all. 4:27 p.m. Marcus found her near the door. It's time for me to head back to New York. Thank you for coming. You didn't have to. Yes, I did. I needed to see it for myself. See whether you were real, whether the change was genuine, or whether it was all performance. And Marcus looked at her for a long moment. A year ago, you were the most arrogant person I'd ever met. You looked at me like I was garbage. You couldn't imagine a world where someone who looked like me could be your equal. I know. Today I watched you apologize to a security guard. I watched you sit in the front row instead of hiding. I watched you accept a position dedicated to preventing other people from making your mistakes. He paused. You're not the same person. I'm trying not to be. I know. And that's why I'm going to say something I didn't think I'd ever say. Caroline waited. I'm proud of you. She felt tears forming. You shouldn't be. I don't deserve. Let me finish. I'm proud of you, not because you've earned it. I'm proud because you kept going when most people would have given up. You did the work when no one was watching. You changed, even though it would have been easier to stay the same. He extended his hand. My mother would have liked you. The person you're becoming, not the person you were. Caroline shook his hand. Thank you, Marcus, for everything, for the investment, for the conditions, for not walking away when you had every right to. Thank my mother. She's the one who taught me that people can change. 5:15 p.m. The hotel emptied out. Caroline stood alone in the lobby. The same lobby where she had destroyed her life. The same lobby where she had started to rebuild it. She walked to the exact spot where Marcus had extended his hand a year ago. The spot where she had refused to shake it. She stood there for a long moment. Then she pulled out her phone and texted Jennifer. I need you to do something for me. What? Schedule a meeting with every person of color who left this company in the last 5 years because of something I did. I want to apologize to each of them personally. That's at least 23 people, Ms. Whitmore. Then schedule 23 meetings. It could take months. Then it takes months. I have time. 5:48 p.m. Caroline walked out of the Four Seasons. The San Francisco evening was cool and clear. The sun was setting over the bay, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. She thought about the person she had been a year ago. The arrogance, the blindness, the certainty that she was better than everyone else. That person was gone. In her place was someone still learning, still growing, still making mistakes and trying to correct them. She wasn't a hero. She wasn't a villain. She was just a person who had failed spectacularly and was trying to do better. Her phone buzzed. Text from David. The board just voted. Unanimous. The Whitmore Institute for Inclusive Leadership is approved. Budget $10 million. You start next month. She typed back. Thank you for believing in me when I didn't deserve it. You earned it. Now go earn it again tomorrow. 6:23 p.m. Caroline sat in her car outside the hotel. She thought about Marcus Thompson, about his mother, about the promise he had made to her in that hospital room. She thought about Rosetta, who had cleaned her family's house for 12 years while being treated like furniture. She thought about Jennifer, who had stayed even when she had every reason to leave. She thought about David, who had become the leader she never could have been. She thought about every person she had hurt, every career she had derailed, every moment of dignity she had stolen. And she thought about the work still ahead. Not 1 year of change, a lifetime. 6:47 p.m. Her phone rang. Unknown number, she answered. Ms. Whitmore, this is Tamara Williams, the one you passed over for promotion 3 years ago. Caroline's heart jumped. Tamara, I got your email months ago. I meant to respond, but I know, you've been busy. That's not an excuse. No, it's not. Tamara paused. I'm calling because I saw the summit today. I saw you sitting in that front row. I saw you shake Marcus Thompson's hand. You were watching. Half the industry was watching. You're still news, Ms. Whitmore, whether you like it or not. I don't like it, but I understand why. I want to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Of course. If you could go back, if you could undo everything that happened, the hotel lobby, the video, the press conference, the audit, all of it, would you? Caroline thought about the question. Really thought about it. No. No. If none of that had happened, I would still be the same person. I would still be hurting people without knowing it. I would still be blind to my own prejudice. The worst moment of my life was also the best thing that ever happened to me, because it forced me to see who I really was. Silence on the other end. That's the right answer, Tamara said finally. I wasn't sure you'd get there. I'm not sure I'm there yet. I'm just trying. That's all any of us can do. 7:08 p.m. Caroline drove home. The city lights flickered past. The same streets she had driven 1,000 times. But everything looked different now. She wasn't the woman who lived in Pacific Heights and summered in the Hamptons. She wasn't the CEO who commanded rooms and crushed competitors. She wasn't the person who looked at other human beings and decided in seconds whether they belonged. She was someone new, someone humbler, someone still learning. 7:32 p.m. She pulled into her driveway. Before she went inside, she sat in the car for a moment. She thought about what Marcus had said, about transformation being the best revenge, about taking the worst of what someone throws at you and making something better. She hadn't done this alone. She couldn't have done this alone. But she had done it. 1 year ago, she had refused to shake a man's hand. Today, she had shaken it willingly, gratefully. She wasn't the same person. And that was the point. 8:03 p.m. Caroline walked into her house. It was quiet, empty, but not lonely anymore. She poured a glass of water, sat at her kitchen table, opened her laptop. There was work to do, plans to make, people to contact. The Whitmore Institute for Inclusive Leadership. Her failure transformed into purpose. Her shame transformed into mission. Her worst moment transformed into a lifetime of trying to do better. She started typing. 8:46 p.m. Her phone buzzed one last time. Text from Marcus Thompson. My mother had a saying. She said dignity isn't something you earn. It's something you're born with. You spent 52 years forgetting that. Don't forget again. Caroline typed back, I won't. She meant it. 9:07 p.m. Caroline closed her laptop. Tomorrow the work would continue. The meetings, the apologies, the coaching, the institute, the long, slow process of rebuilding trust. But tonight she allowed herself something she hadn't felt in a year. Peace. Not because she deserved it, but because she had finally stopped running from who she was and started walking toward who she could become. 1 year ago, she had been Caroline Whitmore, the CEO who refused to shake a black man's hand. Today, she was Caroline Whitmore, the woman who was trying to make amends. Tomorrow, she would be something else, something new, something still unfinished. And that was exactly how it should be. Because redemption isn't a destination. It's a choice you make every single day. And Caroline Whitmore had finally learned how to choose.